Alrighty, so today's going to be a little bit different type of video. Oftentimes, people ask me, what rifle should I buy, or what do I think of this rifle, or what do I think of that? Now, the three main types of rifles I shoot, I've got a couple of the Savage 110 rifles. One's a switchback and one's a tactical, but essentially those are about a $500 to $750 rifle. Now, both of mine are mounted in an MDT XRS chassis, but the rifle comes from the factory about $500 to $700. I've also got a Bergara B14 HMR, which is about a $1,000 rifle, and then I've got a Seekins Havoc Hit, which is about a $2,000 rifle. And I just want to kind of make a video talking about the differences between these kind of tiers of rifle. So, obviously you see here, this is my Savage 110 switchback. Again, this isn't an MDT chassis, so it does not come like this. I think I paid about $500 for the rifle, and then maybe $350 for the chassis. I think I got it on Black Friday. This gun has shot really well. This one's chambered in 6mm ARC, but this would apply to essentially all the chamberings. I also had to buy a MDT magazine to run this gun. So, the gun's very accurate. I've had no problem shooting mini groups at half inch at 100 yards, and it's very consistently shot sub MOA 5-shot groups. I even took it out to 1,000 yards and used it at a long range competition without too much issue. Now, the thing that really sets this one apart from some of the other ones is kind of the fit and finish. Just looking at our barrel, you can tell that it's just not quite as nice a finish as what you'll see on the next two rifles. Also, our action, this one's got a bunch of rounds through it, so it's not rough per se, but it's just kind of clanky, right? If you notice that kind of clank feeling, and it just feels less refined versus what you'll see here in the future. This one also does not extract and eject 100%. Now, supposedly there are some kits you can get to fix this issue. All right, so as we zoom in on the action, all of these are unloaded, obviously, and we've got one of the Savage Accu triggers, which is pretty decent. It's got that little blade, and it's really got a pretty good break. It's just about 2.5 pounds, and as you can see there, our cocking, we've got a big handle on here, so it's got a lot of leverage, but to cock that gun, if you notice that gun wants to twist, right? So cocking it takes a decent amount of force. Again, the bolt's not terrible. It doesn't really want to bind too bad as long as you push it nice and straight forward. And again, it kind of it takes a little bit of force to go ahead and cam that bolt over. So again, cocking mechanism's a little bit heavy, but they do give you a really big bolt handle to kind of compensate for that. Again, it's a good gun for the price. It shoots really well, but again, this is not the chassis it came in. It came with a very cheap plastic stock. All right, so I'm gonna go over, and again, this rifle cost you about $500 plus $300 for the chassis. Well, I think MDT's actually raised the price now. Okay, so now what you see is my Bergara B14 HMR. Now this is the stock that it comes in, so this is pretty much exactly what it would look like if you bought it. This gun's about $1,000. This one has also shot pretty well. I would say it's been a little bit more of a struggle to get it to shoot half-inch groups. It's tended to shoot more around 3/4 of an inch at 100 yards, but this is also chambered in 6.5 PRC. Not sure if 6 ARC's just a little easier to shoot and load for than 6.5 PRC, but when the gun's clean, it does shoot pretty well. Now, this one is a lot more refined than the Savage. The finish on the barrel, the finish on the action, and just the overall fit and feel. Now, this bolt is actually very smooth. It's still got a little bit of rattle to it, but I don't know if the coating, I don't know what the coatings are or the way that the bolt rides. It really rides smooth. If you notice, that thing will just kind of go right in there. Now, this one also has a very light cocking mechanism. So, if you notice, it really doesn't take much force at all to go ahead and cock that rifle. Now, I think this one's got a little bit of cock on close as well, because when we go to close the bolt, there is just a little bit of force, which feels like we're doing the rest of the cocking. So maybe, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm guessing that this one is doing a little bit of cock on open and a little bit of cock on close, which when you're running the bolt, it's really not that big a deal. Trigger on this one's okay. It's a little bit gritty. Sometimes you'll get one that just doesn't feel like it breaks super clean. And that's one thing that's kind of a frustration for this gun. I've really thought about upgrading the trigger, which this takes Remington 700 triggers, so that's pretty easy task. So I like this gun. I think For $1,000, it's really not a bad gun. Again, I think the cartridge that I went with has maybe made it struggle a little bit. They've also got one of these, I think it's called the B&P, which comes in like a precision chassis, which is a little bit more expensive. But I really do like the Bergara Action. It's you know, I'm pretty sure that this Action is almost impossible to bind up when you're running it. So pretty good rifle, but again, this is what you're gonna get for about $1,000. All right, so now what we're looking at here is my Seekins Havoc Hit. So this is my most expensive rifle. This rifle runs you about $2,000. Comes very similar to this. I went ahead and added the weights and obviously the bipod and things, but it comes in the chassis, it comes with the Action the way it is and things like that. Now, this one again has also shot really well. This one has been pretty easy to attain half-inch groups, 5-shot groups at 100 yards, and it's been very tolerant of loads. Very few loads have shot over a minute of angle in this gun, which I've been very thrilled with. Now, this one's chambered in 6GT. Again, it seems like 6GT just wants to shoot. Now, what you're gonna get for the increased money with this is obviously you're gonna get a nice chassis. We've got all the adjustments for length of pull, comb height, and everything like that. We've also got a better trigger. This is a Timney Elite Hunter trigger, which I have it adjusted down to about 2 pounds, which has a really crisp break. I really like the trigger. I can go ahead and adjust it down to about 1.5, but the rest of my rifles run around 2 pounds, so I've done that. Now I did change out the bolt knob. The bolt knob was pretty small from the factory, and so I did go with this one here. The cocking mechanism is pretty good on this one. It's also just a bit heavy, so if you notice the rifle kind of wants to tilt, but it's really not too bad whenever you're actually on the rifle. So if I put just a little bit of force kind of on the cheek piece there, if you notice, it cocks pretty easy. The bolt itself actually runs quite smooth. Now, when it was new, it wasn't as smooth as it is now, and I was a little disappointed when it first came in. Now, the thing you'll notice with this one is there's a lot less rattle with the bolt, so it's a lot tighter fit, especially when we get in there. And then when it also goes into battery, it almost wants to kind of throw itself in. So you can tell that that process of kind of locking the bolt lugs in is much different than on my other 2 rifles. Again, if I had one complaint with this one, it would be that bolt lift. If you notice, you see how that rifle wants to cant a little bit, right? So it's just a little bit heavier with the bolt lift than what I would really like. So notice it's a little heavier than what I would like. When you're running the rifle, it's not too big a deal, but if I had one thing to say, that upgrading to a, one of the custom Actions or something like that, you're gonna get a little bit of lighter bolt lift for that 90-degree throw. Again, the bolt itself runs very smooth, especially now that it's broken in. The other benefit you have to something like this is this one has a switch barrel technology, which you can get pre-fit barrels, spin them on by hand. You've got one nut that you got to loosen, so that's also a really nice plus. Now, right now, the barrels I have on order from Seekins, they're taking forever to come in. So that kind of negates the benefits of that whole switch barrel system, because I've got one, I think it's been on order for over 3 months right now, and they basically told me that they have no ETA for when this is going to come in, which is very frustrating. So I guess that pretty much breaks down what's the difference, what you're going to get under $1,000, what you're going to get for right around $1,000, and what you're going to get for about $2,000. Now, there are many different options just like this, or very similar to this. The new Solus rifle, I believe from Aero Precision, is probably very similar to this. I've never had my hands on one, but features-wise, it seems about the same. Now, you can obviously go more than this. Once you go over that about a $2,000 amount, you're going to be into kind of some of those custom Actions, those full builds. I think what you're going to get there is you're just going to get that refined bolt action. You're going to get that light caulking mechanism, and then obviously you're going to have any option with chassis, any option with barrel, and things like that. That pretty much just breaks down what you're going to get. If you spend, $700 to $800, you're going to get something like that Savage. Again, you may have a little bit better results with one of the Howas. You may have just a Remington 700, but it's pretty much going to be like that. You're going to have a pretty poorly refined bolt and action and things like that. All of them have presented with pretty good accuracy, and then as you work up in price, you're going to get more of the features like switch barrels and nice chassis and better triggers and things like that. Now, if I was recommending to you what I would do, after having some of the Bergaras and having this rifle, I would not purchase any of those rifles in the $500 to $600 to $700 range. After shooting some of the nicer rifles, you just don't enjoy shooting the cheaper ones as much. Now, do my Savages shoot well? Yes, they shoot amazing, but they're just not pleasant to run the bolt. There's something satisfying about that nice smooth bolt, that nice smooth trigger, and it's just more satisfying. Again, there's just something satisfying about that. This gun has made me want to build a total custom rifle on one of the high-end custom actions, just because this one, as good as the action is, has just made me enjoy shooting so much more. And I know if I had something like an impact action or something like that, it would make this one feel not quite as nice, and I'd want to shoot that one some more. So the moral of the story is, buy the best rifle that you can reasonably afford, because you won't regret it. Would I buy another Savage? Probably not. Would I buy another one of these? Probably, right? Depending on the price. So I hope this broke it down for you. Again, this is just my thoughts and opinions. Other people are going to think differently, but I don't think you'll be disappointed spending a little bit more on a rifle. Get a better action, get a better chassis, and I don't think you'll regret it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know this is a little bit different type of video, but I felt like it was an important video to make with all the comments and people emailing me questions about which rifle I should get. Again, spend a little bit more money, get a nicer rifle. You're going to keep it for a long time and you won't regret it. So thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you next time.